All three hosts are back in the house to share our best and worst moments of travel, times when we figured out how to make the best of a bad situation and the most of a good one. Today, we're all about land based travel, but stay tuned for the next episode where we share all kinds of tips at sea. I'm Wendy Armstrong, and I never leave for the airport without some sort of sweater, jacket, blanket, something, because I am extremely cold natured. And when I am on flights, I tend to get cold, so I have to have something, or else it's going to just be a miserable time.
That's a really good one. I'm Sandy Barnes, and I never leave for the airport without my electronics, their chargers, and snacks. I gotta have my snacks. We go to some like Dollar Tree or Dollar General, and we load up on our plain snacks first because I don't like spending $14.50 for one bag of Chex Mix.
It's amazing.
So, just saying.
It's too bad that $14.50 is not a joke. I feel like that's actually true in some places.
No, I think it might be.
Yeah. So I am Carol Beth Scott, and I would take all those things, all that you guys are talking about. I wouldn't bring the blanket for me, but I bring the blanket for people around me. And honestly, I often have gum and suckers. I always talk about this because if there's a upset baby or a toddler, a lot of times a gum and a sucker will ease that pressure in their ears. And I still feel that pressure in my ears. And so my empathy kicks into overdrive, and I need to take care of those babies. So that is great. And something to read.
Oh, yeah.
That is, whether it's a Kindle or a book. I like to occasionally leave Kindles behind, but I have kept up with the current Kindle for multiple years now. So go me.
Nice. My latest tradition, for some reason, I think the last 4 or 5 flights, I have bought a book. I know they're so overpriced there, but I always see something catches my eye. So it's almost a tradition these days that I love a good paper book, the smell, the feel. So I'm buying a book at the airport these days for some reason.
I do that quite more than I want to admit to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared this story before, that I had a stack of books they thought was a bomb in my carry-on one time.
I missed that one.
It was, well, it's not really a brag-worthy story, but they were stacked up, and apparently there's shapes they look for, and it was the shape, and I got all kinds of attention, and they cautiously opened my bag, and I had no idea why, and then it was a bunch of books, so I'm sure their adrenaline went up, and then it was down, and no, it's like then they wondered why I had
so
6
funny.
books on one trip, but it's who I am.
That's funny.
Well, ladies, I missed you.
And
We're
we
finally
missed
back in
you.
the studio together. It has been weeks. We have
It has.
just been taking turns and seeing other people, but it's nice to have the 3 of us together again.
Yes, it's good to be back, all of us.
Yes. So as I am ready to confess with the best. I met with someone today who is a team member in training, and I gave her the speech about how you have to be willing to make mistakes in order to be successful. And I think that that may just be our entire mantra. We talked about make more mistakes. I like them to be big, loud, proud, embarrassing, all of these things. So my biggest mistake in travel for land-based trips is overscheduling. I still suffer from being an overscheduler, and I want to fill every moment. And I thought that I would get away from it when I wasn't so worried about every single dollar. Not that I didn't care about every single dollar, because I do. We're not rolling in the dough. But I was able to disengage that and not stress out about that anymore. But now I just want to get all the things in. And I run people ragged. So that is not always a kind thing to do. So that's my recurring mistake that I'm still trying to learn from.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. But I do have, I know we're talking about land-based, and this also will move over to at sea, but for many, many years when we would do road trips, Austin would get horribly sick, horribly sick with motion sickness. And so we did all sorts of things to try to get this baby, where he could actually be, I mean, we're military, we move a lot, right?
Yeah,
and so
no choice.
he has to be in the car when we're moving across country and all the vacations in between. And so we finally watched Mythbusters of all things and learned that pure ginger is the way to go.
Nice.
And so we started pumping him with ginger, and our lives got much better and smelled much better in our car.
Do you like just like grate ginger directly into his mouth? Like, what do you mean pump him full of ginger? Like, my image has to be wrong.
No.
Chunks of it?
Yeah.
Sucking on a big
Chew on
chunk of
this.
ginger?
Well, when he got older, he would take the capsules, but when he was younger, we would open the capsules and put it in like some applesauce or something.
Oh, okay. Okay, so not
Okay.
fresh
So like the
ginger, like
granulated ginger.
you're not hanging out with a ginger root in your hand everywhere you
Yeah, I
go.
wasn't hanging out with the ginger root in my hand. No.
That's what I was
I have some in
picturing.
the fridge right now. I feel like I should,
Right.
because I suffer from the same thing. Now I want to run a test. So on Mythbusters, they proved out that was better than like Dramamine.
Yes. They said,
That's amazing.
they sat in those seats and that spun and
Ouch.
and so they tested different things. One of them, I believe, was Dramamine, and they said, yeah, we could sit in the seat for a little while longer, but they still felt drugged with the Dramamine.
Yeah, you do. You don't enjoy things in the same way. I agree.
Right. Where
There's
the
a
ginger's
fog.
all natural, and so you don't have that drug feeling. They tested all sorts of things like prescription. I think even like the bracelets or maybe the patch. I don't know. Just go Google the Mythbusters episode about ginger and motion
Google
sickness.
Mythbusters. Yes.
Okay, Mythbuster.
Good tip.
That is a good one. So most of my confessions and my issues with traveling revolve around my packing skills because I am a compulsive overpacker, and I have mentioned my issues with, and I love my travel scale, trying to keep to my 50 pounds, but I am still the lady that even with that, and I carry it with me, I'm still moving something while in the check-in line. Because I've noticed
so
that this
funny.
bag is too heavy. Why do I still do that? And I will mention this last one was we were going to, well, no, I guess this wasn't the last one. We were heading to Barbados, and we have TSA pre-check. Do it. Highly recommend it. Love it. Global entry, all that good stuff. Do it. But so we're in the line and we get through and they flagged my purse. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't put anything extra. I just grabbed it. It was fine. Well, my kids compete in shooting sports with 4-H.
Oh no.
Sandy had 22 ammo for a pistol and a rifle
no.
and a couple shotgun shells
I'm glad you're still
in
with
my purse. Yeah, she thought the TSA agent thought it was funny. She was laughing. There were 3 little, and they're tiny, little 22s are like this, but then a couple of shotgun shells as well in my purse going through security.
Oh,
So
Yeah. No, that's
yeah,
not good.
that was real.
Yeah.
That was an adventure. That was fun. It's what I do. My biggest confessions are always around my packing.
That's funny.
I don't know how I do it. But we also wanted to talk about some couples travels tips, especially since I just got back from that Barbados one. Of course, don't pack your ammo. But that's one of my biggest tips for your couples travel.
Pack your ammo. There you go.
Don't pack
That's
your
the
ammo.
quote we can pull.
Or your
Don't pack your
camo.
ammo.
Camo or ammo for the Caribbean.
That's right.
That's a beautiful transition there. Yes, don't pack your ammo or your camo. Very nice.
That's right. Keep those at home. But some of the biggest things I want to talk about is empathy for your travel partner, because you don't always agree where you're going to go. And you may be more interested in the windmill than he may be. And so keep in mind, 2 hours at the windmill may not be his cup of tea. He might get a little cranky, and that's okay. But think about the fact that you are 2 people with 2 different destinations in mind and 2 different things. So I tend to forget that myself. I'm so excited about this one specific thing, and my husband hates sand. And then I forget, oh man, I'm dragging him to a sandy place. That's something that I like to do, is think about what he may enjoy. I also like to think about some little surprises in between. So if I'm doing the planning, which normally I am, I like to throw in some extra things I haven't told him about. And I'm going to mention this one because it's going to come out after these honeymooners travel. I have some honeymooners heading to Barbados. And she knows a little bit about the room, but she does not know that they'll have a private pool or private Rolls-Royce transfers. And so he's like, we just did our little pre-trip meeting before, and he was sure to tell me, Sandy, don't mention these. Those are the surprises. So I think that is just the coolest thing, is to have a couple of little surprises for your partner along the way. whoever your travel partner may
Yes.
be. It might even be your mom, your sister, anything. I think that's cool.
That's a
I
brilliant
love that.
idea.
I
I
thought
am
so
so
too.
excited for her too because those
I know.
tubs alone are just like an
Mhm.
incredible. And then the Rolls Royce, super fun. I hope they take lots of
Mhm.
pictures. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, they're in a
Yeah.
rendezvous in Barbados, which means
Oh,
they do have, oh,
fun.
and they've got that private little, oh, so cool.
Hmm.
So cool.
Nice.
I
Love
also
it.
like to pack like little card games, and I don't mean like Ace King Queen that type of card game, like
Hmm.
little discussion card games when you're stuck in
Like
the
couple card
airport or
games.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, like ones that spark conversation and stuff. That is something that we've done. We had one called a date deck, is what it was called. And it was just like, what would your dream kitchen or like just something
Right.
random that you sit
That's
instead
fun.
of sitting on your phone the whole time while you're sitting in the airport, you could be playing this little game or you could be doing it in your room, whatever. I really love
Yeah.
that. So
That's a
things
great
that you can
idea.
do together. And if you want to watch things, they make headphones splitters too, right? Where you can each have your
Mm-hmm.
headphones on. So I
We
thought that
always
was
have
kind of cool.
those. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
sometimes you, especially in long plane flights, you start to feel
Hmm.
lonely in your seat next to your spouse. I get it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So those are I like, and even on
That's really
the plane,
good.
you can pull out those little decks of cards and spark some fun conversations, things that you haven't talked about in a long time, or things that you never did. But so
Mm-hmm.
that leads me into spontaneity. Leave room in the schedule. Don't be like Carol Beth and
Yeah.
overplan.
No,
Make sure.
it's not good. It's really not.
I think spontaneity is key. That's when some of our funnest moments, like this one of these last trips, we had a day. We're like, well, what do we feel like doing today? We didn't know, and guess what? There was a fishing charter that was leaving within like a couple of hours. We're like, well, let's go do it, and that becomes
That's great.
some of our greatest stories from that one. Yeah. So those are some of my favorite ways to travel with, mostly my husband, but it works for other people too.
It's yeah, that's really great. I love the cards idea. I've seen those, and there's nice ones and there's naughty
I love
ones,
them.
and then there's fun ones. So yeah, there's all of them.
The
They're
naughty
fun,
ones you save when you're in destination in the room,
right?
and that's
Exactly.
totally cool too, and
Yeah,
make sure you're
public might
packing the
not be a good
lingerie.
place for those.
No,
Right.
no. And the
Yeah. No.
lingerie gets packed somewhere
Awkward.
where TSA is not going to go through that. So pack the
Yes,
lingerie
we've all
somewhere
seen
else. Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? If you're on social media, you
Yep.
see the poor woman at the I don't know how many times I've seen it where they discover her fun goodies in the right there in front of God and everybody. Well, I
Poor
love that.
thing.
No, I know. None of those were on my list, so that's exciting. I because I've just learned from you. Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, you're welcome.
I that was a struggle. When I travel with my husband, we've been married for 30 years and he's a first responder, he's a firefighter. And it's been fascinating. He's been learning because he's on the trauma team. And that's the wrong way to put it because they're all on a trauma team. But what
Hmm.
he is he works to counsel and support fellow firefighters when they've gone on a particularly difficult call or if they're going through a
That's so
death
hard.
or and they support the families when they lose a firefighter and unfortunately we've had that in his department in the last year and a half. Oh, well, multiple. And it's been amazing what he's learned about it because it helped me understand why I accommodate him. And I don't think you have to be a first responder to be someone who's under a tremendous amount of stress. So when you
Hmm.
feel on call, like a mother of a newborn or a firefighter, they used to say 48 hours before you really started to level off. But now they're saying it could be as much as 72. So poor firefighters, that means they
Hmm.
never level off.
Wow.
But the most interesting thing that he brought back, because he went through some training recently, that I see when we're traveling is when the higher you hit a high, like you go on a horrible call, you stay up there, you're like everything's running, all this good, you hit an equal low. So if it's a little
Oh,
high, then it's
goodness.
a little low. If it's a high, it's a low. And they crash and bottom out, which I find fascinating because it's not until usually day 3 or 4 when we travel, and all of a sudden, I could just take pictures of him sleeping everywhere. It's like his poor body finally goes off of alert. And I share them
Hmm.
sometimes. And every
Hmm.
firefighter that I follow, if his wife is the same as me or girlfriend or whatever, they share them too. So I've had to learn to plan accordingly. And it honestly helped me when we've traveled somewhere with multiple time zone changes
Oh,
because
goodness.
everybody has their crash day
Yeah.
when you suffer from there's a lot of things we
Hmm.
do to avoid jet lag and I'm sure Wendy you've probably gotten really good at that but sometimes you just have to schedule in some extra sleep And it's helped me to
Agreed.
be sensitive to that. So I hate it when I see people who have my issue of over planning and don't have the ability to let rest happen. And that's a hard thing for us when we've spent money and time and have our hopes up. But
Hmm.
if you
Mhm.
can let the crash happen, then you will have pleasant, happy spouses afterwards, at least in
Oh,
my experience. We have a much better time if I just, that's when I bring my book out. And I'm just
oh,
wherever he fell asleep.
Yeah.
He's fallen asleep on a playground. He's fallen asleep everywhere on a ship, all over Walt Disney World, just everywhere we go. So, and is it the same way with military, Wendy? Do they have a crash day about day 3 or 4?
Yeah. And actually, this is, uh, you guys both took what I was going
Took
to
all your
say,
stuff?
but
sorry, Wendy.
but I will add to what you're saying is that there's been research done that says when you go on vacation, for those especially that are in stressful jobs, that it takes at least 2 days, sometimes three, to stop thinking about work
Yes.
and come down from that, the work mind. And then before you leave, you start ramping up about 2 days before you leave.
Yes.
So it's really good to have a longer vacation because that gives you time to stop with the work mindset and actually enjoy yourself on vacation before your mind
That's
starts
nice.
ramping up to go back into the work field. So
Absolutely.
there's my little tip.
No,
Go on a
I
longer
think
vacation if you can. Save up for it,
But it's the
you know?
truth. Yeah. It'd be better
absolutely.
to
I
have one every
see
two
it with
years.
my own husband. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a weekend getaway here or there, and you're not
Right.
as stressed by leaving for so long in between that longer vacation that you've saved up. Wendy, that's a great tip because I see it in my
Yeah.
own husband. While his job is pretty stressful to him, it's not a first responder, he's not military,
But
but I
still,
still do see those
yeah.
first 2 days. He's got half a mind to check this or to check that or to
Mm-hmm.
answer a call. Then the last 2 days, he's already starting to plan upcoming appointments in his
Yeah.
head. So you've got that little
Yep.
buffer window. That makes, I didn't never thought about
Yeah.
that, but it's very true.
Well, I think like
So
when you
true.
have a new baby or when you're in college, like I still have dreams every once in a while that I forgot to study before a final. College is
Hmm.
so stressful. Our bodies don't know the difference from life and death and gonna miss a test or get locked out by the
Right.
professor. Like those same chemicals shoot through us. So just we need to
Hmm.
have grace
Mm-hmm.
for each other and for ourselves. Absolutely. This is
Right.
good. And justifies
Yeah,
longer vacations. Thank you very much, Wendy.
that's
I
right.
appreciate that.
I love that.
So we've talked about couples. So now let's move into some family travel tips. And so my kids they're adults now, but I clearly remember when they were children and the wants. Oh,
Hmm.
mommy, can I have this? Can I have this? I mean, it was just
All the time.
everything they saw.
Yep.
It could be a piece of gum, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden that's like the biggest thing that they need at that moment.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what we started doing to help with the wants was we actually gave them a budget, and it was
Yep.
different. So if let's say for Disney, we would give them a gift card and we would tell them, okay, you have, so much money on this gift card. And when it's gone, it's gone.
Hmm.
And I mean, it did take some heartbreak to
Mm-hmm.
find that, they did realize, oh,
You actually
I shouldn't have
meant it.
gotten that candy the first
Mm-hmm.
day because now
Yeah.
there's this bubble wand I really wanted. And yeah, we are those mean parents,
But what a
that were
good
like,
lesson.
It's
you know.
natural consequences.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
But when they went back, then they knew. They were like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait a couple of days and see
Hmm.
if I really want this. And I would always ask them, it's not like I just let them go crazy. I would say, okay, this is the first day. Now there's going to be other things down the road that you might want. Or do you want to spend your money on this piece of gum?
Hmm.
And, sometimes they would say yes, and sometimes they would think about it and say no.
Yeah.
But, we did that, and it it just makes life easier to get them little gift cards or whatever, just to, we started out with actual money so that they could,
Right.
but then,
Feel
at
it.
Disney, it's so much easier with a gift card.
It really
It
is.
is.
It really is. You don't have to worry about change and
Yeah.
stuff.
I
I
love
would
it at
like
the
to
festivals when they've
expand
had
on
the.
that.
Sorry, Spandy. I spoke
No,
over
you're
you,
fine. I wanted
Sandy.
to
We must
just
have a delay. You go first.
I'm so sorry. No, I was going to just kind of expand on what Wendy said is I am the even meaner mom that says, I got you here. You can bring your own spending money. And once it's gone, and I do give them a limit. And we tell family and friends, if you want to give Mason, Evan, Andrew something as a gift, we're going here on this date. Gift cards are great, or money for their spending money because mom paid to get you here. You can pay for those little extras, and that has always worked well for us because then they're a little bit more frugal because this is Mason's money, and I have to be a little bit more careful with it. So that's something that we've done, or we've told them they can do some extra chores around the house and earn a little extra money because we don't really do allowances in our house, and that's they can save up their allowance if you're an allowance family. We are not. We let them do extra chores that are above and beyond the regular chores, and then if you earn a little money, then great.
Yeah, we
That's
did, we
something that
did
we've
when
done.
they got older. We did that, but when they were little, we
Yeah.
would give them money. But when they got older, it was like they would get gift cards at Christmas and from family and things like that. And if they wanted more, then they had to do work around the house. So yes,
And the
absolutely.
And the things get more expensive as they get older too, so that makes more sense. Then they start having to earn
Yes.
them themselves, as opposed to a 4-year-old who is really happy with the $4 little truck, as opposed to a 16-year-old who needs that $40 hat or whatever it might be.
That
Yes.
$200 lightsaber.
Oh,
Oh
don't even.
man. Okay, yeah, that's now we're talking about our husbands again. Maybe I don't know, something like that.
Well, you need to work for it. No, I'm kidding.
It's funny. We all thought about this. I the thing I thought of, and I don't know if they do it anymore. So we'll have to look when we go back. But at Walt Disney World, they used to have at the festivals where it was the bracelet that had the gift card on it. I love that.
Yeah, they
they
still
gave
have
them all
those.
kinds of ideas of how
Yep.
how to do something like that, to where you could basically tie it and attach it to your child where it couldn't come off, because there was always that fear, or one of us had to keep up with the gift cards. And I know it sounds like the ultimate lazy, but it caused me stress. Like, oh, this
Right.
is your gift card and this is yours, and oh, Noah left something. I
Or
mean,
the
Noah left
old
his
Disney dollars.
pins.
Do y'all remember those?
Oh,
Do you remember the Disney
yeah.
dollars? I loved
Loved
them. They
the
were
Disney
adorable,
dollars.
but how easy is that to lose?
Oh yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. So that's funny. We traveled with a family that was a souvenir family. Uh, we are not really a souvenir family.
You're not either.
It's just there's nothing. They might eventually they all loved pens, so David and the boys would trade pens, and that was fun. And they have those on board, so that is a souvenir. So I guess in that way, very much so. But we didn't really have anything like that. We aren't centered around shopping. I had to learn how to support other people's joy of shopping because it doesn't bring me joy.
Me neither.
But we had friends that they spent more on souvenirs than they spent on their vacation. And we shared space with them a lot. And they had the ability to do so. And it was everything you're talking about, we did with our kids. And it's hard sometimes. I'm just going to acknowledge how hard it is. Like, your kids are there. They've earned every last dollar, and they finally go up, and lo and behold, they're buying the one thing that they're going to buy. And the friend of theirs goes, ah, I want one too. And they get one on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of trouble with my internal self being okay with that, and wanted, it was rough. It was really, really hard. And I knew that the end game was what I was going for. And it was what I was doing was great, because they were going to learn the value of what they did. They were going to appreciate it more. And they did. The other kid didn't care at all about what they got. And I had to learn to deal with resentment, my own resentment. But they, at the same time, they were learning, and they love it. Like, they've given us feedback that they're grateful and they understand, and they have the ability to pay their own bills without expecting someone to rescue them. So to all the parents out there who see the struggle, feel the struggle, if you're in the middle of it right now and you feel like it shouldn't be hard, I think it just is. It just is hard.
Stay strong.
Yes,
We've
absolutely.
got this.
Yeah.
We can do this together.
Like, because y'all called yourself mean moms, and I think allowing your kids to feel natural consequences just means you're not training them to be codependent. So Go us, all three of us. We're
Oh,
just gonna
mine will
take
leave me in a heartbeat. They're ready to go hang out without mom. They're like, bye. See ya.
right. They're supposed to. The goal is for them to be independent. So if you
Yeah.
rescue them from everything, you're stealing that goal away from them. So,
Right.
but it is
That
hard.
makes sense.
It is so hard. And the only other tip I have is about managing expectations. Where we have had conflict is when our expectations were not managed well. So we had to learn as a family to state the things that were important to us and not just think that people knew. Because I found out for myself one day there was something I really wanted to do that day, and it was the only thing I wanted to do. And as a mom, sometimes we have in our head, well, I did this and this and this and this for you. I'm serving you all day long. I'm taking care of everybody. I make sure everybody's boxes are ticked. This is the only box I have to be ticked. And then it was time for my box. And every member of my family said, I don't want to do that, complained about it, go have fun, and left. And I sat on the
that
bench and I had
hurts.
myself a pity party. Like I had invited anybody who passed by. It was a sad, sad pity party. Right? And it actually, it's so sad. It rained. So I had my pity party in the rain. It was like a movie scene, right? And I sat there and I knew that I had nobody to blame but myself. If I had told them that this was the one thing I was looking forward to and that I was excited about it and I wanted to share it with them, there's no way they would have done that because it was what we did, but I didn't. So at that moment, what did I expect? That they were going to magically know that this was my one thing? So nobody came to my pity party. It was a party of one, and I learned from it. But I think it's just too easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, he should know, especially with our husbands and then our older children. They should know that I really wanted to. No. You're just going to have to tell
I
people
do that
out
too
loud.
They
much.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. We all do sometimes.
I am so famous for that. I do. You should have known that this would have been my favorite thing to do, and I have went to everything with you. And of course, that's not the right way to be. But I'm still going to do it. I think I'm going to try not to. But I have a bad feeling I'm still going to do it.
So funny. David, my husband, is so kind. He's like, if we're just incrementally better than we were before, we're winning the battle, right? Just a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I thought 50 ugly things about my family. So the next time I'll think 49 before I get control of myself.
That is one step better. That is absolutely great.
Oh my goodness.
That's
This is
so
great. I loved this. I'm so excited. We're all in the same space, and you'll be able to tell when you watch if you watch them back to back on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@3D TravelCast. It's only been out for a short while, that we are wearing the same clothes for the next episode. So we're pretty excited. We're about to record that next one.
That's true.
I didn't plan a wardrobe change. Anyone else? I think so.
No.
Come back and watch the next one. So I am Carol Bescott, and I want you to know I am still excited to be back with my fellow hosts, Sandy and Wendy.
I'm Sandy Barnez, and I'm really excited. It's funny that our tips were so practical. They weren't like, well, pack this, this, this. It was more, this is how to get the most joy with your family with the least stress. I kind of noticed a theme as we were going through these. It wasn't pack something. It was manage this expectation, have empathy. I thought that was great. We really kind of were on the same page and didn't mean to be.
I love it.
Yeah. And I'm Wendy Armstrong, and I always feel like I walk away from these sessions learning something, you know? So I love that.
I learned from you, Wendy.
And I learned from you. See you next week.